This is real steel armour, but I'm not sure how well it will work. Hi there guys, my name is Zach and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about 3 things that even people who love armour get wrong about armour. Okay, number 1. It's to do with the placard. The placard is this plate here. On a breastplate, it's the lower half. On some breastplates, it didn't actually exist at all. And on some, it was very small, on some, it was very big. It's actually quite a good way of dating when an armour came from in the 15th century, is how big the placard actually is. What we see is, and these are kind of general terms, at the beginning of the 15th century, the breastplate is just one piece, and then you start seeing small placards, so where the breastplate is split into 2 plates with one kind of towards the bottom, then it gradually gets higher up and higher up. By the end of the century, you're pretty much back to just having one plate again. Now, what do people get wrong about it? Many people think that the placard is actually there to cover the stomach, and that is not true. The breastplate part of the cuirass is to cover the rib cage and the rib cage only. If the waist goes too far below that, then it actually hinders your side-to-side movement. And you can still fight on foot like this, but I've seen lots of people really struggle to ride if their placard goes too low. Even for people who like fighting on foot, such as the English, would ride into battle. So making sure that your breastplate, including the placard, doesn't go below the bottom rib is really important. So how did 15th century knights protect their stomach? Well, sometimes it was just as simple as a mail shirt. You do also see folds or points of plates. This is the part that covers over the stomach. Many reenactors, many reproduction harnesses move this whole thing too low, with the fold covering just the hips, the placard covering the stomach, and the top half of the breastplate covering the rib cage. Lots of people really like brigandines. If you're not really sure what a brigandine is, it's a piece of 15th century torso armour. It's made of a fabric or leather outer with steel plates riveted to the inside. Many people consider them to be a poor man's protection, but we don't really see this in the documents. Brigandines can be made for all sorts of people. In fact, it goes both ways. Brigandines can be worn by extremely rich people. We see it in paintings, we see it in documents, we see it in wills where people leave their velvet-covered brigandine to a family member. We even see brigandines being tested to make sure that they can stand up to extremely high poundage bows and crossbows. These sorts of brigandines would be much more expensive than the ones that the soldiers lower down the pay scales would be able to afford. It works both ways though. Plate armour was also something that was actually, by the 15th century, relatively affordable. Now, I'm not saying it was easy to afford and everyone had it all the time, completely head to toe. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that we see an awful lot of pictures of standard foot soldiers wearing some type of plate armour. I think this idea comes from earlier on in the medieval period, when making large plates was a lot more expensive. But by the 15th century, a lot of people who previously would not have been able to afford plate armour were able to afford it. Finally, number 3. Now, I think we're all pretty much okay with the idea that plate armour didn't restrict people as much as Hollywood liked to pretend it did for a while. Some would say that we've actually gone the other way, and now people are beginning to say things like, oh, plate armour doesn't hinder you at all. Now, I'm hoping we're kind of in the middle here, but one thing that I've seen armour aficionados love to do is wonder how something worked. Now, obviously, that's something that we all want to do, but you've got to ask yourself a question, actually, did it work? Here's the thing. If you've seen my previous videos, this is one of my spaulders, which is for my new harness, and it has these lanes which go up the neck. Let me just attach it, hang on. So they go up like that. And the idea is, I think, that they provide protection on the side of the neck. I think that's pretty obvious. Now, I've not used these for jousting yet. I've not even fought in them. I've worn them, and you can find that video on my channel. But I am a little bit worried about how well these will work and how well they'll work in conjunction with a grand bassinet, which is something that I definitely want to add to my armour. Now, you might say, well, but Zach, it's on the effigy, of course it works. But we've got to bear in mind that armourers in the medieval period are actually innovating. They're coming up with new ideas, and everything is a compromise between various things. We've got, obviously, mobility and protection, but we've also got things like fashion and cost. All of these things all feed into what an armour is able to be like. Now, I am wondering whether or not these upper lames are going to work, because you don't see them around for very long. You see them in effigies for around 30 years and then they just kind of disappear. So it does make me wonder if the added protection that they afford isn't worth whatever downside the medieval armourers found. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to finding out how these work, how they interact with the rest of my armour, and I hope you are too. If you're interested in that sort of thing, then do subscribe to the channel, because there will be more videos with this armour in the future. If you want to support me more than that, then you can find a link to my Patreon in the description down below. Thank you so much to all of my Patreons, and thank you especially to my night level patrons, Sirloin de Boeuf, Robert, Carrie, and Nightly Lady. Thanks everyone for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a like. Please do make sure that you're subscribed, share it with a friend. And of course, we all know the algorithm loves a comment. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.